Well, good morning, everyone. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that you're in the right room. We're going to explore Boxdata, which is hopefully will be a new tool in your tool belt when dealing with Windows box setups. So just before we get started, a couple of questions. Who's like professionally, so getting paid for setting up Windows boxes of any kind at work? All right, couple. Who's using PowerShell for doing this? Who's using Chocolaty? Awesome. Who's already using Boxdata? This is going to be great. Okay. So before we get started, I have to do a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much. You enable us to do events like this, and it's very much appreciated. So my name is Manfket. I've been a software engineer for more than 15 years now. I've been in kind of different fields. I've been with case engineers who's in automotive engineering for more than 12 years now. And I've just started using PowerShell through Chocolaty back in 2015, 2016. Doing some moderation on the community repository and also one of the maintainers of the Boxstarter project. So if you want to know more, just reach out, get in touch, have a coffee, whatever. So I've done a couple of talks like this before and do not want to bore you with too much at the beginning, but I'm just going to do 2 slides, I promise, on what I dislike about what has been considered to be like normal or a normal workflow and which we do not want to do anymore and where Boxdata can actually help us with this. So I've been killing golden images. At Chocolaty Fest, I've been doing a talk about how to automate your infrastructure and software deployments at WinOps. And basically, who knows what golden images are? So whenever I'm referring to golden image, I'm talking about like a full system image where you do have all the applications, all your configuration, all your setups, all your whatever you do need on a box pre-deployed, and you basically take an image. So it might be like a full hard disk clone or whatever, or if you've got a virtual machine, just duplicate the virtual machine and put it onto another box. And this is perfectly fine as long as you just like take the image, deploy it, you're done. If you plan on keeping that image like for a further step in time, let's say for a week, a month, a year even, then you're going to run into problems because the software gets updated, the configuration will need to be changed, the Windows box is probably not able to join the domain anymore. It especially gets funny with Windows 10 clients when you say you've got an image of a 1603 client and you now want to reapply it and you would have to do some major version updates, which is just something you do not want to do. So this is bad. Another extreme would be, you do not use system imaging and you've got like those huge extensive installation manuals, wiki pages, best case markdown documents somewhere in a Git repository, which tell you click this, next, enter serial number, click this, next, and have all your setups done this way, like offloading all the work to the end user who wants to set up his machine. We do not want those manual instruction, these manual install shields either. We want to automate all of this. And the solution, bear with me, I'm nearly done, is just automating all of this. So we can use those setup instructions, put them to PowerShell code, PowerShell being like the de facto standard for Windows system automation. We can reuse those scripts, we can reapply them onto new Windows boxes, like it should be the same result on a Windows 1607, Server 22, whatever, as long as your PowerShell code is valid. And you can, whenever there's a change required, you update your script, you rerun it, you're done. Awesome. So this is where Boxdata comes into play. And Boxdata, the clue really is in the name. You just got a new box, you want to get it started, you use Boxdata for deploying those scripts. And Boxdata's got a couple of neat features that can help you with it. Boxdata will take care whenever there's a reboot pending, as example, during the installation phase. So you need to, let's say, install 10 MSI packages. 5 of them will require a reboot. Boxdata will do the reboot and then relog the current user that started installation back in and continue where it left off. So with Boxdata, we try to give you like this really unattended installation experience. At the very core of Boxstarter, a lot of things are done with Chocolaty. So Boxstarter, you do not need to know anything about Chocolaty when working with Boxdata. You do not need about packaging, how to create those Manfket packages, which are correctly pronounced new packages, by the way, if anybody asks you. And really, Boxdata tries to take away all of the complexity and lets you focus on writing those host setup scripts. You can put those scripts into version control, you can put them on a gist, and just provide the URL. Boxdata will take care of the rest. And this is where we're going to start a demo. I prepared a couple of Asia VMs, and if the internet does not go dark on me, we should be fine. Are there any questions so far? Because it will basically be demos from here on, and I will wrap things up in the last 5 minutes a bit. Right. So I've got 4 Asia VMs prepared, which are literally, and things are going to get bigger, which I literally never touched. I just added the login credentials. You see, I didn't even accept the certificate, and they're like really just been deployed. So I'm even going to get like the initial welcome to Windows, let's have this thing configured screen. And if there are any questions in the meantime, just shoot them at me. Yeah, see, so this is like really as bare as it can get. Okay, I'm just going to do not care about anything, just clicking yes on all the boxes I get. So there's this great tool for running one-click installers, which is already there on the box when you get it. Just going to click yes to everything. And maybe I can do like zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in a little. And what I'm going to do now is just showing you one of the examples how you can use Boxdata and how much Boxdata really integrates with Chocolaty. So there's the Boxdata website, which you should check out, but also there's this one-click installer. So I can say, Boxstarter, please install a package. And now I'm just going forward with, yeah, well, I want to have some browser, and I'm going to install Firefox. So what I do now is hit enter, and now Edge is telling me, do you want to open this web launch application, and just click open. And what's happening now is I'm going to run this. What's happening now is there's this tiny application downloaded, which itself fetches and extracts some PowerShell modules, which is basically the core of Boxdata. And Boxdata then takes over, tries to figure out what package you want to install, which in my case is Firefox. Oh, sorry, there's been, just going to do this again with a slightly different URL. Now it wanted me to provide auto login credentials or login credentials because I actually used the wrong endpoint here. So I'm going to do boxstarter.org, or I used the correct endpoint, but not the one I wanted to show you. Boxstarter.org/package/NR, which stands for no reboot. And Boxstarter will take care of all the reboots automatically. Therefore, I need to provide some login credentials. If I do not want that, if I say, please don't reboot, just get me started /NR Firefox. So the same thing again with just slightly modified URL. And now it won't ask me for the password. It will just assume I already got local admin privs on this machine. Boxdata now fetches Chocolaty, which it uses internally for like packaging all that stuff up. And now it says, okay, well, I've got a package name, which does not look like a URL. It might be a package on the community repository, fetches it, installs it, and we're done. And at this point, you basically didn't do anything but entering a URL in your browser and clicking OK one time. So you can use Boxstarter to install any package from the community repository. There are a couple, and we're done now. And at this point, we've got a proper browser, and we can go to boxstarter.org. Great. So this is for the first demo. So we've used Boxstarter, or the one-click web launcher, to install a package from the community repository. So as I mentioned earlier, a host setup requires more than just software, just packages that are available on the community repository. Although there is a great, there's a ton of packages on there. You might need, or you surely want to do some other things like disabling that game bar Microsoft gives you, disabling Bing search. We usually do not, at least where I work, do not want that in our development environments. And you go to Stack Overflow, you look up, hey, how can I disable a game bar? How can I disable Bing search? And you can guess where this is going. This is okay, it's manageable, but those scripts can get quite exhaustive. Even though it's perfectly fine, it's valid PowerShell, you can take the script, run it on a machine, it will give you the expected results. You do things like moving your personal documents to OneDrive, and this is where things kind of get messy. You set some Explorer options, you change the taskbar size, you disable some Windows optional features, you enable remote desktop, which is this is where things get tricky. You start using VMI objects, you're doing all this error handling, basically not so nice, not so readable anymore. We want to do it in a better way. So Boxstarter provides you with a bunch of PowerShell modules where all of this now collapses down to like neat commandlets you can actually read and reuse, which is disable game bar tips, disable Bing search, move library directory, set Windows Explorer options, set taskbar small, disable Windows optional feature actually I think is built in Windows, but yeah, you can, it's valid PowerShell. It just gives you a hell of a lot easier time when bootstrapping your machines and getting them to a state where you're productive right away. And I've got this script on my local machine, and I've also got it on gis.github.org, so I can get a raw URL to this raw text file. And what I'm going to show you now is that I can actually provide Boxdata with the URL, and Boxdata will run all of this in a matter of a minute or two. And yeah, also there's a thing like install all the Windows updates, which I checked yesterday. It will take another 2 minutes or so on the current Azure VM images I'm using here. But imagine what would happen if you would apply this to a Windows 7 box. It's a multi-hour experience to install all the Windows updates, go through several reboots, and yeah, Boxdata will take care of this for you. And basically for a Windows 7 machine, I would suggest you start the process before you go to bed and have it done in the morning, hopefully, depending on your internet connection. So, actually forgot to open the link, but I think, yeah, this is one minimal setup it should do. So, I think it's the exact same thing I just showed you. Yeah, looks good. Okay, do you want to do this on Windows 10, 11, Server 22? Any preference? 22. Okay. So we're going in, having another VM. Are there any questions in between? So one thing worth noting is that Boxdata really runs everywhere where PowerShell and Chocolaty does. So even though you can technically currently load the Boxdata modules on like a Linux system, it's not yet possible to do like the packaging stuff or doing remote installations. We're working on it. So hopefully in the not so far away future, we'll be able to import the Boxdata modules on a Linux box and have like packages or PowerShell scripts remote deployed to your Windows endpoints. I think I went somewhere wrong there, because this surely is not a Server 22. I might as well have, yeah, sorry, it's Windows 11 Pro. I just choose the wrong image. I'm not going to do a new Azure deployment now. I will just stick with this now. Sorry, I really wanted to do Server 22. So apparently we're on Windows 11 now. and I'm doing the same thing. So there's this web launcher I'm going to use again, but there's also like a more involved way, which is you can use Boxstarter from the PowerShell. You can integrate it into your CI scripts. And while this machine actually is now bootstrapping and running our scripts, I'm going to head over to the last VM we've used and show you how you would do this. So I'm going to copy this gist and zoom in a little. Again, boxdata.org package, and now I'm telling it to please bootstrap the gist, this gist. So it's a raw gist link. Again, open file, and this time I'm actually going to provide a password because I've done some things in there that will require a reboot. And we actually want to see when the machine reboots, and we want to, and we're going to log back in that the installation has continued. So I'm going to need to provide a password right now. And yeah, this is all live. If there's something going wrong, I'm definitely going to blame Azure for it. Just need the password. Yeah. We can take a look at this, but it's soon going to reboot. So again, what Boxdata does, first thing, it extracts itself, it installs its built-in version of Chocolaty, and already rebooted. So Boxdata does come with a version of Chocolaty, which is currently Chocolaty version 1.1. We do this for like compatibility reasons, because we want to make sure that each and every Chocolaty command you run inside Boxstarter will work. So no matter if you do a Choco install, Choco upgrade, Choco pin, source add, whatever, we want to test it before and have verified that all of the parameters go in the right places. Therefore, we currently do not include the already released version Chocolaty of CLI 2.0. We're most likely going to 2.1 when it comes out in a couple of weeks or so, because we just have to ensure that everything's in the right place. So the machine already rebooted, and I told you I was going back to the Windows 10 box we've used earlier. So let's have a look at this more involved way. What's this? No, please, I don't want this. So just opening command prompt. I did not install Chocolaty, but Boxdata did. So there's Chocolaty version 1.1.0. Trying to zoom in a little again. And just for the fun of it, Choco upgrade, Chocolaty --pre, to give you an idea of that Boxdata actually is using the locally installed version of Chocolaty. So prior to Boxdata version 3, Boxdata brought its own version of Chocolaty, basically the DLL Chocolaty is using in its core. This has not been upward compatible, what has changed ever since in Chocolaty. So we basically ripped that out and relied on Chocolaty being available on the actual Windows machine, and Boxdata using the Chocolaty application, the Chocolaty CLI itself. So now Chocolist should, yep. So these are the packages that currently installed, which is like Chocolaty and Firefox. And now I'm going to Choco install Boxstarter. So there's like a bootstrapping version of Boxdata already on this machine, which we used to install Firefox onto it. But now I'm going to install like all of the Boxdata packages that are available there, and I want to use them in like in my CI system for further system automation and doing things like remote installations, which we will also take a look at in a minute. So when you've got like, say, one admin box, which then needs to set up a couple of build agents, and you do not want to, maybe it's in a building, in a campus, and you can just do remote installs with Boxdata as well. All you need to do is have valid login credentials. So great, now we've installed Boxdata, and then there's this thing called Boxdata shell. You can either use it by using the Boxdata shell link, but it's all it basically is just open a PowerShell session, load all the Boxdata modules, print some welcome screen and it's done. So we can also say Boxstarter shell right here, and it will give us exactly the same result. It prints some getting started guide. So install Boxstarter package autocomplete. Yep. Really is like the command line equivalent of doing the web launcher. So there are a couple of parameters you can pass in, such as computer name when you're doing remote installations. You can use an existing PowerShell session. You can provide a package name where it's actually a string array, and the packages can actually be like a series of text files. So again, you do not need to care about Chocolaty packages. When you do have PowerShell scripts that can set up your hosts, you're basically fine. That's all you need to do, or all you need to know. So as long as you can express what you want to do on a host to get it started in PowerShell, like, don't know, maybe installing software, joining a domain, setting some user configurations, you can use Boxdata to automate all of this. So we're going back to the machine we deployed, which has got the wrong name, but it hopefully should, oh no, it's still installing. So it rebooted. We've seen it that the machine was rebooting. Now currently it's installing some software, and it's just 2 or 3 packages, I think, and then it's going to install the Windows updates, and then it's saying, hey, your box is ready. We've changed some Windows configuration features. I think the taskbar is going to be smaller, hidden files are going to be shown. So all of what we've seen in the script that I've shown you earlier. That's installing VS Code. Note that there's a lot of verbose output, which is not going to be there in the next version of Boxdata. It's just, yeah, tiny bug. So, in the meantime, so I've shown you the Boxdata web launcher. We have had a look at how a DevBox setup script may look like, and that there are like commandlets that help you because they're like better readable, and you can do pretty much you can do a lot of with them, and you can install Chocolaty packages. So yes, then there are those Boxdata Choco helpers. So if you do use Chocolaty packages, and if you decide to do more with like packaging, creating dependency chains, having like meta packages that do incorporate installing other packages along the way, you can do so. Let's say you've got different scenarios, like you've got a build agent, you've got a dev box, you've got like an end client machine, and those are like 3 different types of machines you want to set up. What I'd suggest is you create meta packages for them. A meta package is just like a package that's got an ID, a name, and dependencies on other packages. So you'd say, okay, on a build agent, I need the MS build tools, I need, don't know, Intel compiler, I need a Jenkins client. That's it, my build agent's done. Then you need some extra configuration to get things up, to activate some stuff. You need, you'll take an additional PowerShell script and say, okay, this PowerShell script now basically gets is my meta package. I do Choco install Jenkins client, I do Choco install MS build tools, and then you take the script, put it in some version control, and have Boxdata install that script onto your new build agent. You do the same thing for the client machine and for the build, for the dev box. And Boxdata does have some automation tools and commandlets that help you when dealing with Chocolaty packages. So you can actually use Boxdata to package up your PowerShell scripts, put them into some package repository, Artifactory, Proget, whatever you're using, and then have your other endpoints fetch the packages from there. So what Boxdata also gives you is like additional feed or repository, which usually sits somewhere on your local hard disk, which is like C program data, Boxdata packages, but you can also change that like to a UNC share, and then use Boxdata to actually package up those setup scripts and put them into this UNC share, where you can then take the packages from when like bootstrapping other machines. So, and this is done now, which is our Windows 11 host. It finished, and it even did install some updates. And I would like to get some applause because I've done it live and I've installed Windows updates and it didn't fail. Thank you very much. All right, so we just set up a box. We've got Visual Studio Code there, and we can basically get productive right now. And literally all we did was just entering a URL, clicking OK, run the script, and our box is now available and usable. And I think we even did install, no, not in the script. So I've got another script which also installs a couple of Visual Studio Code extensions, but you can do so by just using the VS Code install command or fetching the corresponding Chocolaty package on the website. Also on the Chocolaty community gallery. So I'm going to disconnect here now. And here we've got our second host, or the first one, and I'm just going to demo a bit on how to use the commandlets you can that are there to support you when dealing with Chocolaty packages. So it already tells you there's this thing called new Boxdata package, which will basically create you a template for a package. It's more or less the same as when you do Chocolatey. It's just much more concise and just thrown out all the bits you do not need when creating packages, just focusing on you've got like a setup script, you've got a PowerShell script, you've got a text file, whatever, and you want to package it up and use it. So what I'm actually doing first is set Boxdata config. So Boxdata got its own config. We're actually get Boxdata config. So there's like there's not much there. It's just Nougat sources, a local repo, a Chocolaty repo, and a Chocolaty package. And I want you to forget about the Chocolaty package. It's it's not saying anything basically. So Nougat sources. By default, Boxdata looks up Chocolaty packages at chocolaty.org/API/version2. We should change this to the community URL, to the new one at some point. And then there's the local repo. And the local repo is where by default all the packages that are automatically created for you go to and where it takes it from. What I can do is set Boxdata config and just change the local repo. And I'm going to change it to C packages. Now I'm doing like new Boxdata package, PSConf 2023. Actually, yeah, so a new Chocolaty package has been created, which actually is a Boxdata package. Do we have code on there? Packages, PSConf. No. Choco install VS Code. So, yeah, we're just going to have a look at the things that got created right now. It's really like a minimalistic Chocolaty package. There's just a couple of lines for the new spec, and there's a couple of lines for the install script. That's it. When you would do like a Chocolatey, it will give you loads and loads of information on how to correctly create installs, what you must do when you want to submit your package to a community repository, and so on. But basically, you do not do this for Boxdata package. So it really gives you just enough so you can use it internally. Well, right. Yes, I trust the offer. I am the offer. Okay, so we've got two files, which is the new spec, which is just 11 lines of code. It just fills in all the information you need to actually create the package, otherwise Chocopack would fail, which is done internally. And there's this install, which is, hey, hello, and throw an exception if something goes wrong. Okay, so you can put all your install instructions in here, and then do invoke Boxdata build and state the package name and yeah, Boxdata will create a package from the thing we've just seen, and now you can install this package onto another machine. Although said, you don't need to do this. It's perfectly fine if you would have, like, I'm going to create a file now, code C. I'm going to also put it in packages, dummy.ps1. And I just write host. No, don't do this. PSConf is great. And also, I'm going to need my Firefox. So I've got the setup script, which is amazing. And now I want to deploy it to some host. I'm going to just install Boxstarter package, and then can either just state package name, the PSConf package we created, or I could just, I know it's like kind of bad practice because the parameter gives us the wrong name, but I can also provide just a script file here. So I'm going to do dummy, and I can provide a computer name where I want to have this package installed too. And this is where I think we've got still enough time left. I'm going to bootstrap yet or log on to another new machine which has nothing on it. So there's no Chocolaty, there's no Boxstarter, there's nothing on there. And I'm going to have Boxstarter install the package onto this machine. So after we're done, we do not even have to start the one-click installer one time. Just have everything done remotely. That said, before you can do it, you must enable some form of PowerShell remoting first. So I'm going to go in there, do winrm quick config, enable PS remote and -force, and we should be fine. Just a moment. Are there any questions in between? Yeah. So that was a very good question. Is Boxdata an open source project? Yes, Boxdata is completely open source, and we're taking pull requests. We're also taking issues. So if there's something missing for you for your workflow, just open issue. We'll have a look at it. If you find an actual issue, please report at GitHub. So I'm going to start PowerShell. Do winrm quick config. Yes, I'm going to enable PS. It's thinking. It's normal. And we should actually be good to go now. Just need to figure out the IP of this host. Okay, so I'm going to skip the network profile check. Don't do this at home. Right. So let me see. (10.24.09). Going back to, oh no, that's the wrong one. The first one I've been using has been 10.1, I think, where we just created a package I now want to deploy. Yeah, and I just provide the IP address of the host I want to install package to, and hope things go well. So what Boxdata now does is it automatically tries to configure winrm, configure PowerShell remoting the way I can actually access the host. It will take care of all the CRED SSB stuff that would be required when, yeah. So all of the fun stuff is hopefully taken away from you. And yeah, it's got access. It's, nay, there's an error. This might be okay as well. I've had a look at this issue just the other day. And yeah, it actually installed Chocolaty onto the remote host. Now it says install package, C package dummy. So it's going to reboot the machine now because there was a pending reboot. and then it will continue right after machine rebooted. So also it's taking care of reboots when you're doing remote installs. So basically that's what Boxdata is all about. This reboot resiliency, the ability to do remote installs, the ability to just grab some gist off of GitHub and don't worry about the details around. So as we're kind of running low on time, I'm just going to continue and we'll have a look back at the host later on. So we just started a remote install, and then the Boxdata web launcher, which I've demonstrated in the beginning, is really cool. This guy named Josef Dur at Microsoft created a GitHub project, a site where they put up some links to like not really gists, but files in GitHub, where they like bootstrap some different kinds of development boxes, and they have been using it at Microsoft. I do not know how many love this gets now that WinRM is around the corner, but there are a couple of links you just can use to set up your box for C++ development, C# development. There is web dev, there is machine learning, whatever. So definitely go check that out and see how Microsoft's using this. Then there are some things you can do to actually package Boxstarter up, so it's like a fully contained thing you can portably put on a USC share and use from there. So you do not need to use like the web launcher. You do not need to install Chocolaty to install Boxstarter to then kick off all of this. You just need to do it once, and then you basically can, in a Boxstarter shell, use the this command to extract all of the base directory, which is totally portable, have it on a UNC share, and then start it from there. There's also a convenience commandlet that lets you like create a share from where you can use Boxdata. So when you use set Boxdata share Boxdata, what this actually will do is create a share on your local machine you run this on, which then other computers can attach to like / mymachine.my.org/Boxdata, and yeah, have it run from there. As soon as you are able to execute batch files in your environment, you will be fine. Remote debugging package deployments. Okay, so this might actually. Okay, so it's possible when you do have your PowerShell scripts that you need you use to set up your dev boxes. You might run into some errors. And then, of course, you want to have some form of knowing what's going on. And you can actually, as their PowerShell scripts, use VS Code or any other tools to debug those host setup scripts. And with Boxdata, things kind of get a bit more complicated, you might think, because you're doing things like remote installations, you're having multiple reboots. That's not the case. You can perfectly attach your VS Code debugger to a running Boxdata install, which is basically just a Choco install. So what you would do is attach your VS Code debugger, the PowerShell session, to the Choco executable or the PowerShell host that's running the Boxdata install on the remote machine. And I think I've just got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to well, there will be a talk on VS Code debugging, which includes remote debugging, PowerShell, Chocolaty packages and Boxdata scripts tomorrow. So maybe join the session or rewatch it on YouTube. So this is something that can easily be done. And yeah, this is going to be demoed tomorrow in the morning. What I want to really take you away from the session is that with Boxdata, every PowerShell script, every text file becomes a Chocolaty package, and you do not have to know nothing. You don't have to know anything about Chocolaty to do so. There's this great website which is called boxdata.org. There's a dark mode, there's a light mode, so you can choose which side of the force you're on. It's got a major overhaul. It's really looking great now. There's a lot of docs considering all the different options, giving you a lot of details on what you can do with all the PowerShell extension, all of the modules that are there. Then there's the link to the Chocolaty community, which is Discord, and there is a own channel for Boxdata, and there will most likely always be a couple of people around there. So if you run into any troubles, go there. Well, just made it through in time. If there are any questions, I would be glad to take them now. If you want some chocolate, I got a couple of stickers. Thank you for your attention. there are no questions, I'm going to back to this machine now and see that the remote install has. Yeah.
So how do you compare Boxstarter with tools like Ansible?
Oh, that's a great question. So the question was, how does Boxdata compare to tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, SCCM, maybe Chocolaty for Business, whatever configuration system management tool you have? The answer is it doesn't. Boxdata is no configuration management tool. It's just getting you like all the things you need to start up a box. So Boxdata for me sits somewhere between having those PowerShell scripts, those package managers, then there's Boxdata, and then there's all of these configuration management tools and suites. So you would use Boxdata to actually deploy like a Puppet or Chef agent onto the machine. From there, you would then continue with your normal IT workflow. Boxdata's real goal is to get you started as soon as possible. And as quickly with like no user interaction at all, to make it easy and convenient if you've got like all of those instructions already written in code, or like you know what Chocolaty packages you're going to use on a machine. Just create a text file, Choco install this, then copy some registry keys. All you need is this file, put it onto GitHub, put it into some version control, and use Boxdata to apply this file to a machine. You're done. So it's like really a minimalistic approach to support you get going in your whatever use case you're dealing with. And you can either do it via the web launcher, or you can use the Boxdata shell if you've got like an admin PC you want to kick off the deployments with. As stated before, basically whatever you can do with PowerShell, you can do with Boxdata, because it's just like wrapping PowerShell scripts up in Chocolaty packages and pushing them to the endpoints you want to target. Yes, please.
Is there a ready-to-use solution that I can put on a USB stick, for example, plug it in the machine and start?
Yes. You would install Boxstarter at one machine and use this command then with the letter of your thumb drive. Although it might be a good thing to raise an issue of GitHub with like a feature request, so we could have like a zip file you can just extract to a thumb drive, and then so it literally be like, I think this would be perfectly doable. So if you want something like this, either run this command or raise an issue in GitHub, and we can see what we can do.
Because this was my first idea. Cool. I plug in a USB stick and say, okay, install.
Yeah, you can also have all of the scripts and packages you want to install also on that USB drive. So yeah, typically I have not had a use case where I wanted to get going with like a pen drive. We typically do it with like the UNC share, which is also perfectly fine. Great, I think time's up. If you want to talk, you'll find me somewhere outside at a coffee table. Thank you very much.